Welcome back to the Garden Guys. As always, it's me, Peach, and I'm here today with two familiar faces. Ladies, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes. So here. Hi guys. Bumblebees. Bumblebees
Yes.
on the garden segment. Wakenya, aka African hippie. Yeah. Katie.
I'm so stoked that you guys are here.
Excited to be here. It's such nice weather outside.
Yeah, it's a very nice, 80 with a breeze, little overcast, some rain going on. Not too bad. So I guess you guys are all wondering what's going on here today. We are going to do a women's panel roundtable discussion of our experiences as women. Disclaimer, some feelings might get hurt. Not speaking for all of us, but speaking for myself, I have written some things down and I'm like, oh man, that might not land as gracefully as I might hope it will. So I'm gonna preface, guys, I might be a dick. I need you to read between the lines a little bit. This is all open discussion, open thoughts, personal experiences. Try not to take anything super personally. Is there anything you ladies would like to add before we jump into it?
No.
All right. So first question that I have written down that I posed to you guys was, what was the vision of a woman that was presented to you as a child? Well, Kenya, would you like to go first?
Yes. Yes, thank you. So I grew up in Kenya, as you know, Nairobi, and to a mom who was a teacher and a dad who's an engineer. I'm saying was because they're retired now. But the dynamic in the house was always, God, I hate using this word so much, but it makes sense in this case, patriarchy, because our society is very patriarchal. You know, the man brings in the bacon, the woman stays at home. It was a very exclusive and separate roles. And despite the fact that both of them were working, the default housework fell on my mom. Now luckily we had maids growing up, we had nannies. So, because I came from a middle class family, and they don't make as much as, you can afford to have a live-in nanny. Even on top of that, though, I would notice this dynamic where they would both get home. I'd get home from school. I'd do my homework. Dad would go straight on the couch and just lay there until it was bedtime. Mom went straight to the kitchen, running around, making sure dinner is made. And I noticed that dynamic by 8-9 years old. I noticed something was just not sitting well with me. And I went to my mom. I was like, Mom, why do you get home and go straight to the kitchen? You've been on your feet all day. Why does dad get to just lay on the couch like a potato? Like, what's the deal? Mm-hmm. And I just came to understand that's a societal expectation. So at 10 years old, I told my mom I'm going to marry a white man. Apparently, I said that by 10.
Right.
I just claimed it into existence, and look at me now.
I was like, you say true to your word.
Right? And it wasn't even about the skin tone, because I watched a lot of TV and American shows, and I noticed the men were very active in domestic duties. And I was like, this is really cool. I want that. I want a partner. Not to go to the kitchen and make me a snack, They help out sometimes. Taking the trash out, that's still a woman's job in Kenya, because you just handle everything. So that's what I grew up with, and I knew I did not want that. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you figured that out.
So young.
Yeah. And you're a very beautiful soul, and
Thank you.
you have a lot to bring to the table as a person. And I think if you had not ventured out against the societal norms of your culture, I don't think you would have blossomed into this person.
Yeah. I can see that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You want to go next?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
So I grew up somewhat similar, but a little bit different. So my dad always worked. My mom always stayed at home. So I had that more traditional patriarchy role where dad was the one to bring in the paycheck and mom was the one to take care of the kids, take care of meals, make sure everyone's clothed, everyone has their lunches, and have that traditional kind of value within that household. So dad always worked. He has the same job. He's about to retire now that he had when I was little. And mom has always been just a stay-at-home wife, which is more than just a stay-at-home wife, but she handled everything at home.
Yeah.
So dad got to go home and sit down and not worry about anything.
So when he was off the clock, he was done with everything.
Yeah, essentially. But in the same sense, he was still present within our childhood. He'd be outside and he'd show us I love this about my family is that my dad always showed us how to do things, how to change tires, how to build a deck, how to remodel parts of the house. Like he always included us girls within that.
Oh, that's
And
dope.
yeah, so while we had more of that traditional dad worked, mom took care of the kids in that house and the family, dad also included us within those to make sure that we were still functional members of society when we left home.
All right. Was there anything you would like to add on? Is that the
We had very basic.
yeah?
Like
So
within
you
that.
had like the American dream
Yeah,
family household. Okay.
like middle upper class. Like we
Yeah.
took vacations here and there. We got to like do those kinds of things, and dad was very involved in that side. But then at home, like dad got to be that typical male who got home and sat down and didn't really
Yeah.
got to enjoy himself because he had
Clocked
a
off.
but he also had a very high stress job. He works in the jail, so
Right.
he's corrections. He's dealing with a different job title where it's go 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 go. You don't know what's going to happen from the start of the day to the end of your day, or if you're going to be coming home at night, or if you're going to end up in the hospital that night because of something that happens within your job. So it was a little bit more of a stress in that sense that you're walking in not knowing what's going to happen when you leave. So for me, I understood him coming home and just relaxing and decompressing and doing his stuff.
Okay. I'm super stoked. I'm going to interrupt a lot and just side rail. I'm pretty stoked that you guys are willing to be open like this too, and divulge things that some women might be they're like a fear of judgment or shame that comes along with being open like this.
Right. Vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's how we learn, though.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. So, my answer for this question, so keep in mind when I'm answering this, there are multiple stimuli that came to mind when I thought of what the vision of a woman was growing up. And it came from home life, social media, advertisement, peers, and a lot of it came from TV and movies. So, I grew up in a fatherless household. Didn't get a lot of my mom because she had to work so much to maintain our livelihood. So a lot of the dream of a woman, like the married life and the happy children and all of the vacations and the romance, all of that came from movies for me. And it was a dream in my mind. So the vision of a woman that I had was that we had to be better than a man. We were sexual objects and our worth is based on that. Women who were feminine were sluts. Being a wife or having a baby trapped a man, and only the woman could end the relationship without fault. Other women were competition. Strength was declaring, I am a strong, independent woman, fuck all men, I can do it myself, while simultaneously breaking down because it's too much, but wearing the breakdown as a badge of honor. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
So that was my all-encompassing, this is what it means to be a woman.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
It was
I
more
knew
Knew
survival.
from here. It's interesting how our backgrounds can influence
It is.
how we see certain roles in
Yeah.
society. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It really influences the perspective and thought patterns and processing. Just everyday interactions with other people.
Yeah.
We really do create our own little realities.
If I can add, so on top of everything you mentioned, something I did see from my mom that I really admired was her ability to just juggle a lot, which
Yeah.
I mean, women juggle a lot. Good women, let me say. Even being a married woman, I noticed, so as I got older, she protected me from a lot of things growing up. Obviously, I was too young to learn certain things about the marriage and the dynamics of the home. But as I got older, she would kind of bring me into certain information. And she told me there are so many times money was a bit tight, or
Yeah.
dad was, he was having this like a furlough kind of situation. And it was her side gigs that kept the house going. So in my mind, I was like, a woman's job is to make sure she's got her guy and the household, So people thought we were rich. We were basically middle class. People thought we were richer than that because mom's side hustles bought the extra stuff that my dad's salary was just for, the household and stuff. So it was, I just grew up knowing it's my job, make sure we got that extra little, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can do a little
Right.
side business and bring a little bit of money. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So you just have that backup.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. And I agree with that. I feel that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in being able to add to the finances. Mm-hmm. Are we ready for the next question?
I think so.
Are we doing good? If you guys at any point need a break, because I know some of this can get like kind of deep, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I think we're tough cookies.
I agree. I am also very sensitive, so.
Another funny thing, I'm also sensitive,
Yeah.
but my tears are usually at bay. But I catch feelings very fast. I think with age, I've learned to kind of just. But I'm very. I could go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being able to tame that, a little difficult.
It's funny because you have BPD. I know it's a bit more tricky.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Doing that with neurospicy. I'm neurotypical, so I'm not that special. So.
I'm autistic.
You're autistic?
I'm autistic.
Oh, I like
Sick,
that.
yeah.
Got my tisms.
All right. So next question that I posed to you ladies was, what has been your experience as a woman? Kenya, would you like to go first again?
Strong, independent bitch. No, I'm just kidding. It's been interesting. I feel like, I mean, okay, now again, I'm gonna keep making reference to my how I was raised, because that kind of formed the basis of who I am as a person. But growing up in a very traditional society, we weren't. Some countries are different. I know Uganda teaches their little girls how to behave as women. They even go into the spicy stuff that kids should not learn about
Okay.
when they're young and they're in their early teens, about how to take care of their man, which I think is very icky. But we were not pulled aside and exclusively taught certain things. However, it was an expectation for us to learn how to take care of a household. So as a little girl, you're going to play with your toys and your dolls and whatever, but you're going to be in the kitchen learning how to cook. Our parents didn't teach you, here, step by step by step. You just learned by observation. Learned how to clean dishes properly. By the time I was 8, I was a pro dish cleaner. Because again, we didn't have dishwashers. We were the dishwashers and these things. Making simple meals, serving, dressing decent. Because again, I was a tomboy for a while. I know my dad was very concerned because I was a tomboy. So I had to wear trousers for a bit. But once I kind of started going into an older age, just how to carry yourself, how to speak. Not necessarily, I guess it's femininity if you think about it, but when you're doing it in your home where your mom is Christian, your dad is Christian, very traditional, conservative, it's just how to be a lady, how to speak properly,
Like the
table
etiquette.
manners. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not mom now, and I got my poor boy. I really give him a hard time at the dinner table. I'm like upright, and because he likes to slouch. A lot of Americans slouch.
Yeah.
You don't notice until you notice. I'm always bugging him about sitting straight, no elbows on the table. I'm like, is that an elbow I see on the table, sir? Is that an elbow I see that he moves?
Yeah.
And mom was really anal about that stuff. So I just kind of learned that's what it means to be a woman.
Okay.
To be womanly, So yeah, that's kind of my upbringing. And as I got older, I learned that you can have your own style as long as you remain true to yourself. You have to have your own moral guideline, your golden rule, certain boundaries that you have to observe to respect yourself. Don't go kissing every Tom, Dick, and Harry, as my mother says. With age, I think you learn to appreciate that even more. I think
Yeah,
you learn the
definitely.
value of your temple.
Yes.
It took us a while and some fuck ups, kissing a few frogs, but we're here now. So, yeah.
It's definitely been a journey.
Oh, don't you wish you could go back 20 years? I know Chris says he doesn't have regrets. I do have a lot of them. Oh, God. While I can still acknowledge that's what made me who I am now.
Right.
There's some things I wish I did not do. Some people I didn't meet, some things I didn't do, some places I didn't go, but... And it's our job, I guess, to teach the younger generation. Please just avoid this hiccup by not going that direction.
Right.
Yeah,
Learn from my mistakes.
exactly. When intuition, you need to listen to your intuition. I know that as a woman, it's very important.
Oh, yeah.
You can't explain why something feels icky, it just does. So, and then another thing my mom did for us, which I've talked about a lot on my TikToks, is protecting the little girls. And I know this is not a gender-specific thing, but there's a lot, the creepy uncle.
Yes.
My mom did not allow us to be around the creepy uncle. It was not, dress properly, creepy uncle is coming. He's not coming to my house.
Correct.
No males were left in our midst just by ourselves as little girls. I was taught the touch, safe touch zones. By the time I was 6, I knew this stuff.
Yeah.
So if anything had happened, I was uncomfortable, I definitely told her immediately. So
That's good.
yeah, protecting girls is definitely important.
All right, so I want to make sure that I'm not cutting you off. Was that the end of your thought process?
More or less, yeah. If I get inspired again by something she says, I'll say something.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
I need the question again.
The question was for Katie, what has been your experience as a woman? 500 points. Go.
I have been all over with
Yeah.
my experience as a woman. Growing up, the one thing I'm so glad that you had a mother that sat there and did the no touch zones and talked through everything. I did not. We growing up did not have the sex talk, at least that I can remember. I maybe just don't remember it happening. It could have happened. I don't remember it whatsoever. My childhood ended early because of my own doing, because I didn't have those talks. I didn't have, this is how your body works, this is how this works. I remember vividly when I was little, my first crush was a boy, and then my second crush that I thought was a crush was a girl. So at maybe 5th grade, I thought that, I was gay because there was a girl. I thought she was really pretty. But because I never had those talks when I was little, I didn't know that, like, you can admire someone for just being really pretty and happy and having good energy and not the opposite.
And not have it be a sexual thing.
And not have it be a sexual thing. So I talked to my sister about it first because me and my sister had a better connection than me and my mom. So then my sister helped me bring it up to my mom after a point of, if you ever have friends that, like the same gender, we would totally understand. If you ever did, we would totally understand. And then we had that conversation. And then it was, you don't know what you like. You're not old enough yet. You haven't even kissed a boy. You don't know A, B, C, or D. It wasn't an educational moment. It was more of a barring moment than anything else, which really made everything for me a very confusing time growing up being a woman.
Yeah.
Because while I saw my mom at home doing the womanly duties, I'd never got taught that. I mean, we had the etiquette of don't put your elbows on the table, and I still do it now. Like, we were at dinner last night, and I'm sitting there like that. I'm like, gotta pull my elbows, gotta pull them back. I catch myself still doing those things, but to me, those are very minor compared to having that sex talk with your daughter before she hits that puberty age to know what's going on, because once that happens, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that back. And I don't regret, I'm kind of like Chris in that I don't regret the things that I've done in my life or what's happened, because it's gotten me to be who I am today. And if I didn't have those experiences, I know for a fact I want to be who I am today. And that for me, I can kind of separate myself from those bad things because I've always learned from them and changed how I presented myself past those points. But I didn't have that. So I was very much a tomboy for a large part of middle school, even into high school. And then I was like, okay, that's not what it was. Like, then I realized talking to friends, like, oh, you can just be really pretty and like be okay. But I also fell back on that as a safety because the relationships that I did get in as from, even a teenager, and then from high school, I got married. I graduated in June and I was married December.
Wow.
So I didn't have that real like wide dating experience. I didn't have that ability to kind of flourish and find myself within that. I found that within a marriage that was very toxic and very controlling, very manipulative. So growing up and going from childhood directly to wifehood, it was an experience that was very different, I think, than most people experience. Obviously, like, my parents weren't happy about it. They were pissed, quite frankly, that, I graduated June, and November I was like, hey, I'm moving. And they're like, well, just don't get married yet. And then 2 weeks later, we were at the courthouse getting married. Like, so for me, womanhood went from seeing my mother the way that she handled the household to handling a household and figuring it out. And don't get me wrong, my favorite job is really getting into that femininity and being able to provide for someone. So for me, falling into that was a good thing because that gave me purpose and I enjoy it. It wasn't just, you have to do this. It's, I like to do this. This is fun for me.
It's fulfilling.
It's fulfilling. It's, even if it wasn't the right relationship and I didn't have the education to really know that that wasn't the right relationship, I still stuck to it and tried as long as I possibly could until I couldn't anymore. And then my life was in danger at that point, and that's when I left. Because again, like, no one ever taught you, hey, look out for this if someone's doing this. Like, that womanly intuition, we never had those talks. So while you know something's off, you don't know how to handle it because you were never taught how to handle it. And when you're that young, when you go directly from high school into an abusive marriage, you don't have anything else to go back on to be like, okay, that's not how it's supposed to be. To me, that's how it was supposed to be because that's what I was living and wasn't taught any differently. So for me, going from that to that and then getting 5 years later a divorce and leaving and doing everything to start over, to me, it was almost like my womanhood didn't start until I was 25 and I got divorced and started everything over again.
I get that.
So like for me, it was a lot different than that. And I wish, looking back, I don't regret it, but I do wish that I had that nurturing aspect within my childhood to have known the difference. But because I didn't, it made me who I am today. And I'm glad that once I hit 25 and I got that divorce and I like realized like there's stuff that's not right here and I'm not who I need to be. I'm not who I know I can be and who I want to be, that my womanhood really started.
Yeah.
And then from there it was finding myself. It was going from survival to abundance and then that femininity. And there's still points now within my current relationship that I kind of bring that masculine side back out. And I kind of need that reminder, like, babe, you're okay. You're safe. You don't need to be the power. Like, let me be your power. And then you can be the strength. Like, it's okay.
Oh, I love that.
That is nice. That is
So
really
for me, like, my womanhood started at 25. And from there on, it has been an amazing experience to figure out who I was as a woman and what I wanted out of life and really grabbing onto that feminine role and being able to embrace it and love embracing it.
Gosh, what you guys are saying is so much for me to process. And then I have to remember that I'm a part of this, so I have to be active. Holy shit. All right. I also do not want to cut you off. Was that the end of your thought process? Feel like you wrapped that up good?
Yeah.
All right. So just to restate the question, because now I've also forgotten it, and I'm recognizing the viewers might also forget. So the question once again was, what has been your experience as a woman? I relate to you a lot, Katie, and I did not have any talks growing up about sex, what it means to have it, when, like, any boundaries, yes and no, consent, all of that. And I also agree with, I don't feel like my womanhood had started until about my mid-20s. Up until that point, I felt almost subhuman. Like I was just an object to be used. And like I said, my worth was based on what other people deemed me to be, not what I placed within myself. All right. So in thinking of that question, my brain is kind of abstract. So I just wrote down a bunch of words and phrases. This may not be coherent. So if at any point you guys have any questions, please let me know. So my experience as a woman, of course, there has been trauma, grape, a lot of emotions. There's been love, nurture, and beauty. Early into me being me and being cognitive of the world and being able to form relationships, most women I don't get along with. There is promiscuity. There is a lot of hate and jealousy, weird fucking mind games, lusting after other men while in a relationship. And I have partaken in some of these as well. Back when I was a now dead version of myself. There was substance abuse to cope with life falling apart, lying to cling to friendships, tolerating disrespect to not make people mad, being loud and obnoxious because I didn't care about others and I thought that I had a right to take up as much space as I wanted to. I didn't care about others. I was crying myself to sleep because of my own self-destruction and then choosing it again the next day. Getting gawked at every time I go in public, being expected to behave or look a certain way. And then as I was thinking, I was like, wow, a lot of this shit's really negative. So I went into the more positive aspects of my experience of being a woman. And of course, there was childbirth and pregnancy, overcoming my postpartum depression after both of them, climbing the ranks of a corporation as a young 20-something-year-old, connecting to nature, and my womanly influence on my husband, and examples of that is safety and communication, being a mom, dressing to look captivating. I, growing up, hated my body. I hated my curves. I hated drawing attention to myself because I already felt like an object. Now, I view myself as a human being, and I view myself as a human being who has a right to be creative with me. And part of that creativity is creating looks and outfits where someone looks and goes, damn, I would have never thought to put that together.
Yep.
Right?
I love that.
So, and I think that women do it. I mean, of course, men and women are different. And just seeing a woman who is well put together and has taken the time to be presentable and has put a lot of thought into their outfit of choice and coordinations and all of the accessories and whatnot is a big part of the experience of being a woman to me. Did all that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, dope. The way that I'm able to heal with words or my presence, and then being an entrepreneur. As a woman, I saw other women being entrepreneurs and owning businesses and being CEOs. And growing up, I'm ashamed to say this, but even into my late teens, I believed that women who were in higher positions of power did it by getting on their knees.
Oh.
And
Like
that
not to
was,
pray, I'm guessing.
What's that?
Not to pray.
No.
Okay.
No, not to pray. And that was something that was drilled into me.
Yeah.
And now I view it as a tactic to build onto the victim mindset. So I take pride in being an entrepreneur and supporting other women to have that experience as well. Another experience that I've had as a woman that I never foresaw myself ever experiencing was having the recognition that men and women are different and seeing the beauty in those differences and understanding why it's necessary for them to coincide is not the word.
Coexist?
Coexist, I think that works better, yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that has enhanced my experience as a woman is actually digging into the history of women and seeing the way that women have had to cope through the hundreds of thousands of years and adapt through some really, really hardships and overcome the massive strength differences, right? I firmly believe that women have come as far as they have, because in America, we have it really fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
Really fucking good.
Yep.
And yes, women have influence and they have leadership and they have power. I firmly believe that good men are a big part of why we have what we have in America as women.
Absolutely.
And part of digging into the history of women and seeing where we are at in America and seeing where other women are in other countries and noticing the stark differences in everything that is going on, it's made me appreciate what I have in America, overall encompassing experiencing being a woman. Does that also make sense?
Yep.
Fantastic. I'm glad that we're...
I'm thinking
we're all
Saudi
here.
Arabia.
I was thinking like Yemen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the really oppressed women.
Yeah.
Not the
Well,
ones
even
screaming
in,
they're
I lived in
oppressed right now.
Bahrain for 2 years, and even there, I think, like you said, like really appreciating the freedoms we have. Like you don't until you either read about it, you start really educating yourself about it,
Right.
or you live in that experience to where,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the women were very well taken care of, but it was still like we had women from Saudi that would come over on the weekends and they weren't allowed to drive in Saudi. So they would come over, and the minute that they'd hit the bridge and hit Bahrain, everyone would get out of their cars and the women would get into their cars and the men would all get into their cars and they'd be able to go off. So the women didn't have that over there. And just to be able to see them, appreciate the fact that I can get in a car whenever I want and leave,
Yep.
but they can't, was an eye-opening experience for me, because you don't realize that things like that exist when you don't actually see it or live in that experience. So it's definitely a different time frame. Like within Bahrain, though, like the women were very well taken care of. Men love their women and they love their children.
Yeah.
And that, in my, like seeing that, just men taking care of the children while the women got to just relax when they were out and about. That for me, kind of within that womanhood, was like, oh, that's a possibility. That's a thing, because in my last marriage, we sat there and it was, well, if you ever get pregnant or have a child, I'm leaving. I'm going on deployment. I'm not going to be around for the first 5 years. I'm not going to help you raise that child. And then to see the men love and adore any child, it didn't even have to be their own. There could be another child running around and they'll bend. And it's not like in America where you sit there and you're like, oh, you're being creepy. They generally love their children. So to see that and see that that was a possibility, I think was kind of the start of like opening up to my femininity and being able to be like, oh, there's more options than just, you know, I'm gonna have a kid and then I'm being left to my own devices and be miserable, and I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be off somewhere else enjoying my life while you're stuck doing what you're doing.
Right.
So it's a whole different experience, seeing and then living, and then even like you said, reading up on it, and then deep diving into the cultural differences from different countries to our country, and then getting into the differences just from family to family.
Yeah. Definitely. It's crazy how narrow-minded a lot of people can be.
They live in a bubble.
Yes.
I mean, I know this is, I don't know if you know, there's at least a lady, her name is Charity. She has I'm sure you see her videos. She makes these sarcastic responses about Africa. Stupid questions about, do you guys have phones in Africa? Then she responds with, actually, no. And then she has a bunch of phones behind her. She always does.
Oh, is this the girl who has like shells and whatnot?
Yes, that's her.
Oh, I adore her.
Oh, yeah. So her account blew up because she found a niche. But I have been asked questions like those. As an immigrant, I know for my first year in America, how did you learn to speak English? I'm like, I went to school.
They really asked you, how do you learn to speak English?
With a straight face. I thought it was kidding. They were not kidding. They were so not kidding. I was in this case, give America a real bad rap. You could just Google. And they knew I was from Kenya. I was like, if you even try to bother to check, you'd have known we're a British colony.
Right.
A former British colony. So we actually know how to speak the formal English when you guys are watering down the language. And no, I don't live on a tree. And no, I don't have a pet lion, pet monkey.
Wow.
And no, I don't live in a hut.
It's a lot different too, though, because like we don't, like here, we don't learn differently. If we do, it's like you take 2 years of French or 2 years of Spanish, and that's it. And then once you drop off and graduate, like most people don't have an interest, a want, or a need really to learn
Anything outside of
language.
America.
Right, because
Yeah.
most people don't travel. They stay within the state that they were born in. So it is a very, like you said, a very closed-minded situation. So like sitting there to sit, like when I lived overseas, it was, well, what other languages do you know? I'm like, English. That's it. Like I can understand some French, but it's very basic French. So like that was one of the things I always wanted, was to start learning other languages, because of just simply that we're not taught that growing up at all.
Yeah. It's not even a mandatory in our school system. It's an extracurricular to have a language.
Isn't that insane?
Yes, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. One of the... Oh, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially when you think about how absorbent a child's brain is so young, that if we started teaching a second language or a third language in elementary school, imagine the possibilities that would open up for people. Just to be able to have that under their belt and be like, yeah, I can speak. But parents don't speak a second language, so then the kids are speaking it and the parents don't, and then you have that disconnect there as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the moments that really stand out in my mind where I definitely felt the stupidest I felt was being in another country and recognizing that almost everybody that I interact with who lived in that country was able to speak to me in my native tongue, but I couldn't speak to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do better for our kids, though.
Oh, yeah. My kids right now are learning French and they're learning sign language.
Good.
Yeah. We're
I
not,
think ASL should be taught in school, but
Yeah. All right. Are we ready? Oh, wait. I have one more thing that I wanted to add on. So as I was thinking about this question, I was sitting outside. I was baking myself and the wind was blowing. There were birds chirping. And in my mind, I pictured, have you guys seen The Black Swan?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know that scene where she's on like the dark ballet outfit and she's doing the dance. When I think of being a woman, including all of the dope moments and the beautiful moments and like motherhood and then even like the trauma of being abused or being raped, all of it is just one continuous like orchestra and symphony of music. And like, yes, there will be dark times and it will be hard to get through those times.
Yeah.
But to remember that it's like listening to a very dark moment in a symphony and you're like, oh shit, the superhero is getting ready to go through something bad and I wonder what's going to happen. And knowing that the overture is about to come and the music's going to get light again and he defeated the villains and he got the woman and everything's super dope again. I don't know. I think just relating life to something that's creative and beautiful puts it in a different perspective.
Yeah.
Makes sense? All right. Any final thoughts before we move on? So the next question is, what makes you happy?
That is a very wide question. I was like,
Yeah.
where do I start?
I have just a list of things that I wrote out.
A lot.
Yeah.
Friendship. I'm an extrovert, so definitely being out in a crowd. I don't know what I know for introverts it's the exact opposite, and you'll never understand this because your social
Correct.
battery just drains. Mine gets filled up.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the middle of a music festival and the music is just going, I'm almost going deaf. There's a bunch of people around me with fans. I'm just like, yes.
I have to mentally prepare for 6 months before that.
See, now that I'm in my element. I still
That's
need my
crazy.
downtime because I do get overstimulated, but that's more if we're out with the kids and everyone's running in like different directions.
Yeah, that's a
Nemo
lot.
is trying to chew on the leaves. But yeah, so that's one of them. Art, my art, I've always loved to draw, paint, color. So that just kind of, it's a part of me that just makes me super happy. Eating good food. I hate cooking the food, but I like
yes.
eating it.
Me too. I always have to think about the end goal.
I complain about food prep. And I sent Scott these pictures. It's like, baby, you just baked all that shit and you're complaining. I was like, I hate the process.
And
But
then you
look
have to
how
clean
amazing
up.
they look. Duh, you know. And who's going to do all these dishes?
Exactly.
So, you know, you can like both. Music. What else? Having a good, basically just being with your family. We're having a good moment. You don't have a lot of those lately because my son has gone feral. But, you know, being a mom.
Yeah.
I know also there's the black swan. There are those moments. You're like, so my husband and I have this code. We just, when our kids are both stressing us out separately, we go like, F these kids. Because we both feel it. I'm like, baby, you got this. You got this.
Deep breath.
Yeah, different. Yeah. Just that in general, being successful. And I know that's kind of vague and subjective, but doing well when I'm working, hearing my clients go, you know, thank you so much. You make my life so much easier. I'm just like, oh, can
a
I put that on my
fulfilling
website?
thing.
You know, so just those little elements of success and little milestones make me super happy. Yeah.
I think those are all very good points to hit. That success one's a big one for me too. If I don't have wins, I feel lazy and I'm disgusted with myself.
Yeah. Small wins.
Yeah. Next.
So I'm kind of the opposite. A lot of the opposite.
Yeah.
I loathe large crowds. To me, they're so draining. I can appreciate being off center within it and seeing everyone else enjoy themselves. I love that. Being in the middle of it, my poor brain just cannot, like, because I focus on every little thing. So
Yeah.
if you're dancing, I'm focusing on the way your hair is moving. I'm focusing on the jewelry. I'm focusing on the way your clothes are going. And then I'm hearing the music and the vibrations. Like, it's very overwhelming for me in those situations.
Yeah.
But then there's times where I can kind of really dig into that and enjoy that, but on the side, to where for me, my happiness comes from nature. I'm such a huge nature person. Like, even the past couple of days being here, like being on the beach as much as possible, finding shark teeth, finding, you know, heart-shaped rocks is everywhere as I go. I have a thing with heart-shaped nature objects,
Yeah.
leaves, rocks, like that's like, I don't like spontaneously like just find them on the ground. I'm like, a little heart. And I get so happy over those things. Keeping my house clean. Makes me so
that's
happy.
a big
Yes,
one.
girl. Yeah.
So happy.
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yes, it is.
And it's funny because some of the little things that make me happy, like scrubbing down my sink and just seeing the bubbles all around the sink and then taking this, like spraying it all down and like that. There's something about that that just fills my soul with so much happiness. And it's such a little niche thing that like, that's what brings me happiness. Cooking. See, I'm the opposite. I love to cook. I love to cook. Love to cook. Creating those things are huge. But I also spent time in high school taking college level pastry art courses. So for me, it's always been a passion to bake. Like I had a little small like cottage food service kind of gourmet cupcake business for a while. And I loved that because for me, creating food and feeding people is a love language. Okay. If I'm cooking for you, you know I like you. Because for me, it's a whole process. I'm like you. I hate the cleanup. I hate dishes. But I think a lot of that came from my upbringing because we had a dishwasher. We weren't allowed to use it. We had to wash the dishes. So me and my sister would go back and forth with, oh, it's your night, it's your night. And that still sticks to me to this day that I hate doing dishes. Which I think is why I love when my sink's all nice and clean because then there's no dishes in there. It's great.
Same,
But to actually get to that point, I'm like, everything's good. And then it's after the fact that everything's made, I'm like, I gotta clean everything up. That's the draining part for me. But being out in nature, I love my art, like love painting, love drawing. I got away from it for a very long time. When I got married, that kind of was taken and put, because I enjoyed it, I wasn't allowed to do it. So for a long time, I wasn't in that element that made me happy, which was very draining. And now I can sit down whenever I want and draw. I can paint. I can create anything that I want. I've had businesses where I created tumblers and like 3D and awesome Disney type styles. And that I really enjoyed. Anything where I'm creating, it doesn't have to just be painting or drawing. I could be building something even. And I love that. That brings me so much joy to be able to, like, that for me is the success of, I made this, look what I did. And it's funny because like we have conversations where it's, well, I can pay someone to go do it. I'm like, but I want to do it. It would take me, 3 months to get it done sometimes.
It'll get done.
But I still love to do it and I still love to get from start to finish and being able to be like, I created that. That made me happy. And then finding my fashion. That makes me happy now because I never had that growing up. I was very ashamed of my body. I was a very heavy set child. I was very self-conscious to the point that sitting there and dressing feminine was very vulnerable to me. So now when I'm in my feminine, I can sit there and be like, oh, I love this skirt. Never, even 5 years ago, never would put a skirt on. And now I'm sitting there going, oh, this one would look cute with this top, and putting outfits together to say, oh, this is cute. And the difference of when you're out and someone going, oh, I love what you're wearing.
It's so validating, right? I mean, you don't need to hear it, but when you do,
it just brightens your day. And now I'm that person that I'm like, I'll go out of my way. I never used to be outspoken to go by someone and be like, I love your outfit. And now I do it. And then you can tell, like, it just takes people back.
Brightens
like,
that day.
Oh, thank you. Because they're expecting to be like, hear something negative, but you're like, oh, I love your glasses, or I love what you're wearing. And just because you know how good that feels to give that to someone else, or if you can see they're not really having a good day, brightening up someone else's day, that makes me happy to know that, like, you're probably never going to see that person again in your life.
Right.
But you know that you just made an impact by the smile that they gave you, or by the way like they started to walk away and they were giggling as they were walking away to help empower other women in that sense. That brings me happiness. I love being able to do that for other people, because people have done that for me who never knew me. Even when I came off very abrupt and very negative, I still had those people that could see that like I do now, and that started slowly to help build that up. But like everything about being a woman honestly makes me happy now, because I never had that before.
Right.
So taking care of the house, taking care of my man,
Taking care of yourself.
taking care of myself, being able to be a bonus to Mike's son, that fills me up so much. And it's funny because it was in a way that I never expected. I've always loved children. I've always been around children. I've always helped other women raise their children. When I was previously married, we had friends that had kids and their husbands were on deployment or what. So I would step in and help them, raise them. So I have a lot of experience with kids, but I've never had a child myself. So being able to be that bonus to his son and knowing that we're eventually going to add and give him siblings to be able to play with and enjoy and have that connection that way, that makes me happy. Because again, that to me, that's really tapping into that feminine side of myself and enjoying being able to stay home and help him take care of, his son, and being able to do those fun things and the activities and helping him learn and grow. Like, that fills my cup so much more than I thought it was going to.
Right.
And it's such a weird feeling because I didn't create him.
Yeah.
I understand that. But to be able to help him grow and be a part of that with him from such a young age, it really is a blessing that I never thought that I would have. Growing up, my father adopted us. Like, he's not my biological father, but he was always there since I was little. So I kind of had that background of like, this is an option. So when I had that presented to me, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I want to be a part of that. I want to enjoy that. The fulfillment that brings is a whole new level that I love that.
Yeah. That's so dope. It's crazy to be at a point in your life where you never imagined yourself to be.
Correct. Because 7 years ago, I never thought I would date someone with a child. I never thought I wanted children after my previous relationships. I was like, I'm going to be single forever, and I'm a woman, hear me roar, and I'm going to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And it was a survival mechanism. It wasn't what I truly wanted, but it's a safety feature that I kind of built into there to where it was, well, I don't need any of that. So let me really dig in on not having it and not making that a possibility for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd have chosen the bear, is what you're saying. You'd have chosen the bear. Have you seen that TikTok trend? The bear or the man?
We were just talking about that at dinner the other night because I can't stand that trend.
Old me would have chosen the bear.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
I know.
I would
And I think
have
that's why I can't stand
fought
it.
tooth and nail to defend that too.
At least a bear will eat me.
Yeah.
A man could do anything. I'm like, are you guys listening to yourselves?
But I think, again, it comes from that survival because they're
Yeah.
living in that
Absolutely.
aspect of, well, I was hurt, so everyone is that way. Instead of realizing that not everyone's that way, but because you keep living in it, that's all you see. Like,
It
when you
keeps
go
repeating
out,
itself.
Correct. When you go out and you're looking to buy a new car, you never see that car, so that's why you want it. And then all of a sudden you go test drive it, and that the only car you see is that car. So when you go through that trauma, I feel like that's the only thing you end up seeing and living in is that past trauma until you decide to really process it and let it go.
Right.
Yeah. I really, truly love and cherish my husband. Like, he is my safety. And when you think about that mindset where the women will choose the bear over men, that's a really sad reality to live in because they truly believe that there are no safe men in this world. That's terrifying.
It is.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Because I know I used to be that person. I would have said, oh, give me the bear any day. No.
Yeah.
Transformations.
All right. So I'm going to read my response. We're getting up to the hour mark. So I think what I'm going to do is split this into 2 episodes.
Okay.
Is anybody on a time crunch? No? All right. Fantastic. All right. So once again, the question was, what makes you happy? And once again, I just have a list of things. So I have birds chirping, my kids, my husband, painting. I love napping in the sun. It's a very nice thing to do. I love the rain, the sound of it, the smell of it, the wet grass on my feet. I love the wind. I love cooking and I hate the cleanup. I eat while I cook.
Yes. You have to add extra in so you know you're not eating what you have to cook with.
I eat half of my portion as I'm cooking. And I get so excited as I'm cooking. I'm like, oh man, once this whole thing is put together, it's going to be fantastic. I love reading. I love creating. Baths make me happy. Singing and dancing is so fun to me, especially if I'm not good at it in the moment. Like, I love singing off key on purpose for the joke of it. Yeah. My saxophone makes me happy. My faith. I love having a community. Hearing other stories about life just fulfills me. I don't know what it is. Forehead kisses from my husband.
Oh, yeah, those.
Yes. Making my husband, the rest of this is about my husband, guys. Making my husband happy. Serving my husband. I fib. The very last one is seeing people be happy, even if a lot of people think it's weird.
Yep.
That makes me happy because that is unapologetically living life, not caring what other people are judging you about. And that makes me happy.
Hand holding.
Hand holding.
Hand holding.
Yeah.
Even when it's like 95 degrees outside.
We're going
and
to sweat together.
And you're
Feel like I don't care if there's a tissue between us.
or my favorite is like pinky holding. I'll just hold his like we'll do
Yeah.
our pinkies together instead of like a full on, but just having that physical contact, the boa constrictor hugs.
Yes. I want to not be able to breathe, please.
Yes.
You know
This one
CPR,
is
babe.
kind
Let's
of
go.
X-rated, but okay, so hear me out.
Hearing.
You know, my guy is like 200 something pounds, 6 feet. So I told him that he was like, "What? Explain this to me." I was like, "I like the weight of you on top of me, not I mean also during the
Right.
but outside of the just I was like, just lay on me." He's like, "I'm smushing you." I know, but I
It's
like
the
it.
best part.
I call my husband my favorite weighted blanket.
It's a weighted blanket thing.
Yes.
It's so. Is it a weird thing?
It's compression and it's warmth.
Is it a trauma response though?
Maybe.
Sometimes
Probably.
Probably.
But it's okay.
I can
'cause
barely
love
breathe, but just lay there.
Yeah. But I know that you're not going to kill me, so I'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the difference is you know that. And it's the same thing like with hugs. Like we're very different on our hugging.
Okay.
I will bear hug you. Like I want that
Like you want to break the
tightness.
ribs and stuff.
I had to teach how to hug me because Mike is a real good, but I like that like compression and
Right.
Mike has like shoulder injury, so to like pull in and hold like hurts to a degree. Like it's harder for
Yeah.
him. So I'm like, okay, we got to figure this out because I still need my compression. So we'll get
Right.
So like you said, like we'll just be laying down
Yeah.
and like lay on top of me, just like be right there on like I want your face like right there on
Just
top
imagine
of
I'm a
mine.
mat.
Yeah, just like cover me. Like I don't want
Yeah.
a blanket. I just want you instead.
Yes.
And that's so weird that we all. Oh man,
It's the best
love
feeling though.
Yeah.
That's what makes me happy. Just that.
Yeah, that is a
that
it's a
very
trust
nice
thing
constant
too.
contact.
I think it's a
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
because I would never have done that with my ex-husband. I'm on a different level with my man.
Right.
I'm like, according to my dad, Scott basically tamed me. It's in quotation marks. It's like-
Tamed you.
yeah. Because my dad was the outspoken, not the independent boss bitch babe to that level, but I'm
Yeah.
very outspoken.
Right.
I'm an quote unquote, I hate using the word, but alpha female, if you will. Like, I don't take directions. I know what I'm doing and I know everything. Dare you tell me. And then Scott is the guy who's like, babe, that was not necessary. He'll call me out on my shit. I'm like, fine.
Damn.
I'm sorry. And that takes everything in me. But yeah.
But isn't it nice to have that to kind
It
of
really
like bring you back?
is. When you start with love, oh yeah, it's definitely necessary. Because I'm like, I would never for any other man.
Correct.
Bish, who?
Tell
no.
me to calm down. That's not gonna happen. But now, like, if anyone else told me you need to calm down, you're a little. I'd be like, excuse you, I do not need to calm down at all. Like now, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring it up 10 more levels to overcome that. And now, like, we have conversations where like I start getting really powerful and like. I'll talk with my hands. It's so bad. That's how I know now that
You're
it's
getting
starting
to
to
that
come
level.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll start like just moving my hands and like enunciating. He's like, the way you enunciate things, that's how I know you're coming out of your family. I'm like, okay,
Okay, babe, breathe.
right? And if anyone else told me that, I'd be like,
Yeah.
like I'd puff up and like turn into like a mini Hulk.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, you're right. I need but it's so uncomfortable at first
It
when
really
you're
is.
not used to it. Even when you have that safety and that person is your world, and you
But
really
that's what
feel
makes
that.
the difference. That's exactly it. You're like, God, I love this man. Oh, why do I love this man?
Oh, right.
But
I
okay.
can't do anything to fuck this up. Like,
Exactly.
I can't be the reason he leaves.
So I'm
Right,
like,
but if something affects that person, you're like, before you wouldn't have cared, and now you're like, okay, so this is the way I've always done it. But if this truly does bother you, and you have enough courage to come to me and say, hey, this bothers me, knowing your past relationships weren't that great, and if you ever did that, it would be a whole
Right.
blow up.
yeah.
To sit there and be like, okay, I need to sit back, process it. It may take me a day or two. I may need to be like, hey, let's pause this conversation. We'll come back to it in a little bit. Or we'll have the conversations to where like I need to calm down, or I'm just a little too much at the moment. And it's
Yeah.
not that I'm too much because they're afraid. It's I'm too much because I'm coming out of that feminine energy and trying to be masculine and go back to that survival because it's 32 years of that survival that sometimes it does creep up and you don't realize it because you're so used to it, even after being in that safety relationship, that you kind of need that nice little reminder to be like, you're safe, you're okay, let's come back down, let's talk about why you did that. And then being able to sit there and safely explain why that happened, and then being able to both come in and make sure that next time it doesn't get to that level is such a nice feeling to know that, like, okay, if this starts happening again, we can catch it and bring it back.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I have given my husband permission to tell me that I'm acting crazy,
I
like
know.
verbatim. Yeah. And first time he hit me with it, I just looked at him and he was like, "No, you baby, you gave me permission to say that." I was like, "You right? No, you right. I'm being crazy right now. Okay, I needed that. I needed that check." And
He was probably like,
we had a conversation after. He was like, "I was so scared." I was like, "No, babe, I understand."
I gave you permission. I need to remember that I gave you that permission. So
Yeah. Give me a
let me
minute.
center myself.
Yeah. Yep.
oh man. I think that's such a high level of self-awareness, isn't it?
It is.
Like to know you're at that point, you like, someone can call you out on your shit and you don't get defensive
Oh
or
gosh, it's taking so long.
fight back. You just take a minute, breathe, and go, "You're right. You would never have caught me dead or alive." Saying shit like, but also the people I was with were not worthy because they did not do that for me either.
Correct.
So I was always in survival mode. It's like, you're telling me, so what have you done to show me you're willing to change? Nothing. Okay, you don't get to talk.
There's so many factors that go into who we've become as women and as wives and as mothers. It's wild to see the growth.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it all, to me, I contribute all to Mike being with that safe person and having that safety and knowing that you're okay no matter what. And at the end of the day, one of our favorite terms that we use is, at the end of the day, we know how this ends and it's together. We have each other's back no matter what. So even if it's hard, even if it sucks and it's really uncomfortable, at the end of the day, we're still getting through this. We're still going to be okay. And we know that there's safety. So there's no reason to get defensive. There's no reason to go back into that trauma response, and slowly rewiring that so that you don't automatically jump to that.
Yeah. All right. So, is there any final thing you guys would like to add on? Because we're going to wrap this episode up and begin part 2.
I'm good.
We're good. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed part 1 of this garden segment. Let me know what you guys think down below. We might do this again if everybody's on board with it. And we will see you in the next episode of The Garden.